Welcome to the Lance Wallnau Show. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We started doing this a week ago and a week or so ago. Anyway, it's, it's going down memory lane. It's actually getting the stories. Stories are life transforming. And so around when we're off the air, I'm telling stories all the time. And suddenly, Mercedes and my staff said, people need to hear these things because they don't hear them. They're never going to know them. So this is the unconstructed, unrehearsed story you've not heard yet that you need to hear, because I have indeed traveled around the world with some of the most interesting people, and these stories are fascinating. Mercedes?
Okay, so what we get to do, or what I like to do, is not tell Lance the story that I would like for him to tell. He always tries to steer the conversation. We have Carl with us as well. Carl is here today on the set, and so Carl, feel free to jump in and you've been here a lot longer than me, so elaborate as we go. But the one I would like for you to tell Lance, this is really different, okay? We live in a spiritual environment. There's forces at work around us all of the time. And you told me a story one time about how a spirit came upon you in a car and was trying to get you to open the door to throw yourself out. I think that's one of the most wild stories, and I wanted you to tell it.
You sure you want to go there?
I think our people would be really interested in spirituality. It has to do with witchcraft and overcoming it. So I want to throw it out there, and then Carl will pepper in additional stories as we go.
Well, I was dealing with a guy named Jack Chick. Jack Chick used to write chick tracts. You ever see those This Was Your Life chick tracts? Those great chick tracts. I mean, they're the little cartoons, and they really work well. Those cartoon tracts, people will read them more than they'll read your Four Spiritual Laws or your, whatever track about Jesus. So tracts are a very powerful tool. People will read them. And I actually loved Jack Chick. And the This Was Your Life is the classic. They're kind of expensive now, but it's a story about a guy who, is living his life and is, doing his thing. And all of a sudden grabs his heart, has a heart attack, dies. He goes up to heaven. There's a big screen. This was your life. And his life is played in front of his eyes. And then it's the judgment. And he realizes, oh my gosh. Then you see him like embarrassed, like, don't tell that story here. He realizes he's in a holy place. It's one of those dirty jokes he used to tell. And everything's exposed. And then separate, in judgment. You're not in the Lamb's Book of Life, into hell. He goes, oh. And then he realizes this could have been your life. And it's like he gives his life to Jesus. And then he's like, he's like a good guy, going to church, leaves his family, praying at the, meals. Anyway, sharing the gospel. And then when he dies, heaven opens up. Angels escort him to heaven. And he's got the reward. And Jesus' arms are out. He's out. And he's got this crown on his head. And it's a beautiful. And so it's a great summary of these two kinds of. Norval Hayes, great evangelist friend of mine, used to get him and go out on the beach, and he passed them out to people on the beach. So anyway, so I used to take them and I'd roll them up in toilet paper when I was in the consulting business. See, my guy called me to do stuff a lot of people don't do. So I'm up in a Fortune 500 companies in the New York Stock Exchange. I'm a consultant in the oil business, and I love Jack Chick. So I used to go unravel the toilet paper and then ravel the chick tracts in, so that my buddies and friends would go, at any point in time, they'd be unraveling the toilet paper, and out would come a comic book. These guys that come out of the stall, you won't believe what I found in the toilet paper. And they're sharing the testimony, and people are passing these books. It's hilarious. Anyway, so I get worried about Jack Chick, because he starts promoting about this woman who was a witch who had left Satan, who was supposed to get married to Satan, but had broken up the relationship. Sometimes Christians are a little gullible.
Yeah.
Jack is sending out this testimony of these witches that are exposing Satan. And one of them is a witch who was supposed to get married to Satan, but she threw off the marriage. She decided not to do it at the last minute. It's so bizarre. Jack Chick bought the story, and he's got this woman working with him. Now, I'm really I'm as gullible as anyone. I think God uses me because my heart wants to believe this stuff. Did you read about the closet witches? And I'm reading these books are passing around about this woman who was a witch who got saved, and she's exposing what Satan's agenda is. And Jack Chick, she's working with Jack. So naively, I'm all excited. I'm out in California at a conference, and I go to visit my friend Jack. And I go to visit Jack, and while I'm there, I meet the lady, and I'm all excited. And I'm asking questions that I probably shouldn't be asking, because they're obvious questions, like, so you actually were, now I think she just embellished a crazy story and made it up, and nobody did any due diligence. That's the problem with the Christians. Back then, we're better now.
Are we?
But
Sorry,
no,
keep
I don't
going.
know. Maybe not.
Keep going. Keep
Maybe
going.
not.
No, it's good. It's good.
Kidding.
But she said, I had a jet, for instance, because, we had supernatural prosperity, and so I'd fly around. And I said, wow, you had a jet. And I said, and so what did you say you did for a living, on the IRS when you paid your taxes? And how do you, I'm trying to figure out, like a business guy. Well, how do you, but I'm half like Pentecostal business. So I'm thinking, okay, I believe you. How'd you pull that off? She goes, well, I said I had, I did she made up some janitorial services or cleaning services. I said, well, that must be interesting. How do you explain a jet on a cleaning services salary? How did this thing get paid for? And so she started looking at me real irritated. She moved to another subject. And I kept on asking questions that were questioning the validity of what she was saying. And I said, well, we're supposed to get married to Satan. There was a ceremony. You're going to be his bride and everything. What was your excuse? And it was like one of those, I had a headache things. I said, let me get the crown prince of darkness is willing to accommodate you because you were having a headache? Well, I was, the Lord was dealing with me and I was about to become a Christian. I go, I'm looking at my friends. I'm going, this story is sounding more and more strange. Is there something? I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with the story. And then that fast, the Lord says to me, basically, she's a witch. This isn't a conversion story. This is a deception. And I looked at her, and here's the weird thing. She looked at me, and at the same time the Lord said it to me, she knew I knew it. It was like spirit to spirit. And I go, oh my God, Jack. Oh, dear God. So I grabbed my friends and go, let's go. Let's get out of here.
Was Annabelle with you?
Annabelle was with me.
Okay, that's what I thought. Go ahead.
Ralph Bellucci was with me.
Ralph was with me.
Hey.
Ralph, my best man at my wedding, Ralph Bellucci, and another guy. Anyway, here's the deal. I get in the car and I'm driving back, and I said, hey man, that was like really strange. Everybody's saying, yeah, that was really weird. It's like I don't get it. Doesn't make sense. How the devil, just gets a headache I asked her supernaturally, she caught bullets in her teeth and stuff, that she would do that stuff. And I thought she knew she was really in the supernatural. I said something, all of a sudden this boom, like an envelope comes over me. And this is really weird. Suicide is a spirit, because this bag comes over my head and I feel this cut off. I'm sitting there, everybody's in their car, but I'm hearing wobble voices, and I'm got a veil over me, I'm in a separate world. And all of a sudden, it's I feel this urge, to open up the car door, and I see myself rolling out of the car, onto the highway. I see myself committing suicide, and it's now I'm not. Imagine if you're depressed, and if you've got demons talking to you, and you're screwed up your life, and you're broke, and you're in pain, and you're in drugs, and I might as well end it. I'll tell you what. That spirit, I didn't even have that. And that spirit was open the door and roll out. I thought, what the heck? So I start rebuking this thought that is coming to me about self-destruction. And
but you tried to open it,
well,
right? Wasn't Annabelle there?
I was playing around with the door, and, and then Annabelle goes, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's yeah. What the heck what's my arm doing?
Yeah.
What's my arm even doing?
Yep.
So I start worshiping Jesus. I rebuked the devil, and it didn't seem to do anything. So I start worshiping and praying in tongues. And as I prayed in tongues, boom, I came out of that bubble, that veil, and it's off of me. It's man, I'll tell you what, that was weird. I was you guys were talking. I was a spirit was on me trying to get me to kill myself. It's what? And it's we just worship Jesus, praying in tongues, worship, and the anointing came into the car.
Lance, we got to stop right here. We're coming up against a break. I see the clocks flashing. Stick right there.
We're entering a period of time that has increased hostility against people of faith. It's a time when Christians are going to be tested on a moral, physical, psychological, and even a financial basis. I'm here to remind you that God is the one who has blessed you thus far, and he will take care of you in the future. You have a divine responsibility, however, to see trouble and prepare yourself. For example, with record inflation eating away at the value of the US dollar, the savings in your retirement account is in danger of slipping away. I recommend diversifying your 401k or IRA out of paper assets and into physical gold. And the best way to do that is with a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. Now that includes no penalties, there's no taxes when you transfer current retirement funds into Birch Gold. To see how it works, I want you to go to lancewallnau.com/Birch and get your free info kit, and you'll be glad that you did. Now, at that point, feel like I need to get in touch with Jack Chick. I don't know how to do it. But I go off to a guy named Win Worley. Now, Win Worley back in the day was a heavy-set deliverance worker that loved casting out demons, and he was a Baptist. Let me tell you something. There's nothing more dangerous than a spirit-filled Baptist with a deliverance anointing, because Baptists will fight you tooth and nail doctrinally accurately any day. But you add to them Pentecost and a revelation on casting out devils, they're the devil's worst nightmare. He had a Baptist church, Hegwich Baptist Church, in Illinois, I think it was, near Chicago, which I've since learned has lots of devils. And I went to his church because I knew he was friends with Jack Chick. And he knew all about, he was open to this, Let me just say that if you're going to deal with witchcraft, this is the guy to talk to. So I go down there, and the front altar has a padding on the floor, which is 2 inches of cushion. You know why? People at the altar call are hitting the floor. Like they're fighting. The demons are manifesting up there. I had no idea. This church is wild. I go there, and I remember that. I go there, and Annabelle and I went together, and the little girls come up, casting out devils, 13, 14, 15 years old. And she goes to Annabelle, I love this one, "Sister, you need ministry?" Annabelle goes, "Okay." So they're up there. Anyways, a deliverance church. I'm just telling you guys, you never hear these stories. You might as well hear this. We need this in the church in America anyway. So, and demons are coming out left and right, demons come out. So anyway, I go backstage. I go, "Pastor Wynn, I just want to tell you about I just went out to go see Jack." He goes, "Well, come on back here to my office here, young man." And I was a young guy, and he's getting dressed in there. His office is all messy. He goes, What do you got to tell me?" He's putting his tie on. I said, "I just went out to go see Jack Chick, and I told him a story about, I think these women I don't think they're legitimate. I think one of them is definitely in witchcraft still." He looks at me and goes, "Uh-huh. All right, I'll take care of it." He goes out there, and it freaks me out. He went way further than I was going to go. I never said anything. He says, "We got these 2 women here working with Jack. They're lesbians." He yells out there. I feel like Norm Macdonald now. I'm going, I never said they were lesbians. They're lesbian witches. 2 women over there. Now, there was 2 women, but I only knew one of them. There's the other. I didn't know about the other woman. "They're lesbian, and we're going to deal with it. We're going to pray right now. Let's go ahead." And these people, I'm telling you, scary. They lined up, boom, boom, little army of people, 10 deep on both sides, male and female. And they got their word. And they went up there, and each of them delivered their imprecatory prayer. I never knew what an imprecatory prayer was. They go, "Let oil go into their bones and dry them. Expose the witchcraft. May God lift the skirts off the head of Jezebel." And they're boom, boom, boom. They're doing these. And I'm going, what about me? They're all praying for Jack. Divine protection for Jack. I'm the one that needs protection. I was all upset. I'm going to Annabelle. I go, "I can't believe this is happening to me. I'm the guy. I just went. Now she's going to know it's me. This young man today came into my office and exposing the closet witches." So I go home, especially after that, a suicide thing. I'm going, I had fear on me. I was young. Younger than I am now. I've had a few go-rounds with these devils. I know what I'm doing a little better now. But I'll never forget, man. I'm in Fort Washington, married. Carl hasn't been born yet. Lance hasn't been born yet. Joy hasn't been born yet. They're about to be born within a year. And I'm there, and all of a sudden, I hear these noises in the house. Animals, rats, rodents getting into the house. and I could hear him scratching at night. And it's like, I said to Annabelle, I swear, this is from me going out and telling Win Worley, and everybody's praying for Jack Chick. What about me? And so I go to start praying, and the Lord gives me a word, and the word was interesting. He says, don't pray against the witchcraft. Now, you guys might disagree with me on this. Say whatever you want. The Lord said to me, he said, I don't want you to engage in the warfare against. What I want you to do is pray for the women, that the blindness will come off their eyes, and that I will have mercy, and that I will intervene and save them. Pray for their eyes. In other words, don't get involved with the warfare. Get involved with the blessing your enemies. They are putting curses on you. I will nullify the curses with the pray for their eyes to be open. It's kind of like Stephen. I mean, they're killing him. They're manifesting demons. They're frothing at their mouth. And he says, Lord, lay not this sin to their charge. It's the right spirit to pray. It's not like, and go get them, Jesus. So I'm praying to bless them that curse you. And the animals stopped. The rodents stopped. The scratching stopped. So there was peace around my house. And the Lord gave me a verse from Isaiah. I will take the tail of these two firebrands and bring them around by another direction. And what the Lord showed me is, I think what they're going to lose track of me, and they're going to be focusing on other stuff, because Win Worley had a whole national expose going. And I got lost, and they stopped following. Those spirits left me. But I learned something about spiritual warfare. I learned that there is an authority in agreement with educated, literate warrior people. If you get involved with spiritual warfare at that level, you can go to war. Worley had that. I also learned that, you can get counterattacks if you're not mature and if you're not aware, and you won't even know what it is related to, but there is occult warfare.
I think too, as you tell it, the other things that kind of stick out to me is just within the body of Christ, like the desire for, like, I want to call it sensationalism, right? So that, I mean, what you're talking about, the person you're talking about, literally, when I met Larry in the bookstore, in the book aisle, he suggested that book by that author. That's how we got into this conversation originally, like a year ago, 2 years ago. And so we went through that whole book, and it's so wild, right? But there is like this desire, and you went into it with just such a sincere heart, and then saying, okay, well, how did that work? And well, what happened here? What happened there? And so you start poking holes in it. That I just think that's a good discipline for people to tap into, of like, instead of just taking it all like this almost too good to be true story, is to question it. And then the Lord multiple times throughout the story spoke to you certain things like, hey, this is witchcraft.
I forgot about Larry, your husband, Destiny Image publisher, but we do have this.
But he didn't publish that book, just so you know.
Oh, no, he didn't. Jack published it.
No, that's
and
what
Jack
we just
broke
met.
up with the witches after that. They had a falling out, as you can imagine. They had some kind of, first of all, Jack rejected Wynn's warning, but then I think he came around.
Yeah, actually, Lance, as we've been talking, I have an idea already. It's just some resources that might help you as we're talking about things like witchcraft, and we're talking about mind control. We have a great product that we've put together. It's actually a bundle we have. It's Leviathan and Breaking Controlling Spirits. And if you guys want to get a hold of it at home, just to learn more, maybe your curiosity's piqued and say, hey, I think I might be dealing with something like this. You can go check it out. It's lancewallnau.com/break free. And Lance, I think you've got it over there, so maybe you want to talk about it.
Well, and so one of the things we didn't get to go into the story on, but what the Lord began to build me up in is said, you're going to have to learn how to pray strong in the spirit to build your spirit up for these battles. So there is a war that is fought in the unseen realm between your mind and Satan's mind, and Satan wants to take your mind under his control, but you have the mind of Christ. Now you have to start speaking with the language of Christ. This is Breaking Controlling Spirits, powerful science and technology for activating the prayer language to do the warfare for you. And it works to break up the influence of this Leviathan spirit, because that spirit's working, and you can jam the frequency that's talking to other people, trying to turn them against you, trying to make them hostile to you, trying to twist the meaning of what you do, moving in jealousy and fault finding. This spirit destroys relationships, but praying right and moving with wisdom will break Leviathan up. This is the combination package, lancewallnau.com/break free. This is how you move in the antidote to witchcraft and mind control.
I love it. And I know Carl, we got Carl over here and we were talking a little bit earlier. I think we're going to have to cut the episode here, but we wanted to talk about this guy, Bob Bradbury, that you both know.
Yeah, because you got me going into my history before the kids were born. That's the question you asked. But now, as they were growing up, I got into a whole different flow of the supernatural, and they got to hang out with some of the great giants of the age. But the child's perspective is frequently much more interesting than the adult perspective. We'll do that in the next broadcast.
Yeah, I think that's good. We'll do it in the next broadcast.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world.